Alright, this should be working now. Hey everyone, we're here live on YouTube. My computer crashed a few times unexplicably just as I was starting the stream, so if it crashes out on me again, I don't know what's going on, but I wanted to talk about, first thing first, is something that's always bothered me about the whole Edgar Fouché story, and that it got brought up recently, and the whole thing about quasi-crystals or metamaterials, right? So quasi-crystals I've pretty much nailed down. I found stuff about them going back to 1984 and a lot of talk about, quasi-crystals and stuff. But Ed's stuff about metamaterials, he said metamaterials too, and I have not found anything on here, and you'll notice there's nothing on my Ed Fouché page about the metamaterials. And if you go on metamaterials and you look at the history of metamaterials, you'll see that, we have theory and stuff, 1978, and in 2000, the Royal Imperial College this is all the real stuff that you find on metamaterials, comes about in the year 2000. And if we go on, Google Scholar, and you search for left-handed materials, and you try to go to the range before 2000, anything from 1980 to 2000, you don't find anything. Really, you start finding stuff in about the year 2000. Is when you start finding stuff in the scientific literature that comes out about this, and that's really strange. And it's a gap that's not been explained. And I found some of these papers and stuff through going through, backtracking. They're not listed in the journals. They're not searchable in a lot of in Google or a lot of the searchable databases and stuff. You don't just stumble upon this stuff. You have to know the scientist's name who's working on this stuff and kind of go to their CV and pull their papers to get this access to this material. You really have to be an insider in a lot of ways, I feel, in order to gain access to a lot of the information, because it's not searchable in these databases, although it does exist out there, and I have some examples of it. I almost want to put together a summary of all this, because it's quite interesting, and I'm not sure whether it indicates, it definitely indicates that there's some level of classification to the material, but it doesn't. What the question that arises from it is all this secrecy and the development of this technology, the fact that it's not outlined like this. It raises a lot of the questions that people get, and this is a lot of the reason that a lot of people, including myself, have often been misled to the conclusion that this technology came from aliens or something, And I wouldn't ever say that, we should. I think that, I don't know, man. There's a video clip of me online, and I was from Alien Con, and I was just watching it, and it was like, so what's up with the sound? Oh, Jesus. Let me, I'll have to plug this in. Hold on a second. Check. Hold up, I'm changing the source on this right now. desktop audio. How do I change that? I don't know how to change it right now. Let me see. Hold up. Check. How's that now? How's that? Can you hear me now? I don't even know if that works. The chopper sound, huh? How about this? Is that better now? Get to the chopper. This repetitive? Nope, it's still messed up. I gotta figure this out. I don't know what's going on with this audio. It won't let me change it. Properties. Hello, how about that? Can you hear me now? How is that coming through? Sorted, yes. There we go. Now my headset's on. Boom. You can hear me better. All right, hopefully. It's lower now. But they can't hear me properly. How about now? Can you hear me properly now? Can you hear me properly now? You turn the volume down. How about now? Turn the volume up. Fixed. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So anyways, what I'm saying is that trying to figure out whether this technology, is this metamaterial stuff, is this really evidence that, of some kind of secret reverse engineering program that's been hidden from us? Did the technology come from aliens, or did it come from human sources that have just been covered up? And this is really about the biggest piece of I think physical evidence we have going for us right now that maybe this technology is aliens if we can't trace it back to all human sources that developed it, because it kind of just starts appearing around the year 2000. If you look on the scholarly record, it just appears around 2000. Left-handed materials appear on the record around and everything's published from then on. But we have these military sources like Ed Fouché saying that, no, these things have been going on in black programs since the 80s and maybe the 70s, back in the 70s, where of course we see on the metamaterials history timeline, there's just huge gap. 1978 to 2000, there's just this massive gap there. On all the history. And I think also Wikipedia needs to be edited and updated, where we can put in some of that history as people begin to piece that together, because I think a lot of it's being declassified now, that it's coming out, but it's still super suppressed, and that's a shame, because more of this needs to be properly put together and properly sorted out, because it's just this black hole in the history, in the timeline, where we have no other choice but to say that this aliens, it must have come from aliens, because it is literally alien technology with invisibility cloaking and the things that we can do with this type of technology. And it was absolutely developed in the programs at Area 51, starting with Project Rainbow. If we trace back to and go over the history of this, I've talked about this in other videos, and not the Philadelphia experiment, but Project Rainbow, and I think it's related. It might actually be related to the Philadelphia experiment, if there were ever a experiment with trying to test invisibility and how to the effects of Tesla coils on ships. Maybe they did put a bunch of Tesla coils on a ship, but they were probably testing its radar invisibility and how it would affect the ship's appearance on radar and ability to deflect radar, as an anti-radar kind of research technology, rather than the story we were told by Carlos Allende, Carl Allen, the mysterious Carl Allen. But anyways, not enough about the Philadelphia experiment. That just came up in the search results, so I had to say something about it because it was on the screen. But the U2 was basically the U-2. It started with the U-2, and they did this cross-sectional radar where they actually built a Soviet radar, exact copy of the Soviet radar, and they flew the U-2 around and figured out how to get its cross section down with different methods. And one of the methods that they used was this stuff called the cardboard wallpaper. Yeah, wallpaper. It's on here. So it talks about the wallpaper. It doesn't have a picture of it, but I have pictures of it, and you can look up some of the videos with archaeologists. He's a site archaeologist, this guy that goes out to UFO crash sites and actually digs up, not UFO crash sites, UFO, I guess you could call them UFOs, but it's anything that's classified, that X-planes and stuff that crash out in the desert. He goes and digs up pieces of them, and he's found some of this wallpaper from some of the test flights with some aircraft using it. But it's basically this cardboard with a grid pattern on it and printed on it that makes it metamaterial essentially, and makes it invisible to certain types of frequency radar. This grid in a honeycomb, glued to a honeycomb that was intended to be effective against higher frequency radars. So, and then they had these wires and other and then chafe method. There's chafes and there's other ways to change your appearance and change your signature on radar. And that was a lot of research done into techniques and ways to do this kind of stuff. But this was like the birth of like that wallpaper stuff. Whenever that was first developed, we need to get more like the history on that, and people need to do some more research and digging on when Purcell did this Lincoln Lab team. Lincoln Labs is up here in Massachusetts, I believe, isn't it? Lincoln Labs, yeah. So that's MIT's Lincoln Labs, and that's in Lexington, Mass. That's up here in Massachusetts. So if those guys are retired, they're probably around here, and I really should try to. We should try to get the names of some of the people involved in some of these programs declassified, and I'm going to reach out to guys like dark journalists, not and Black Vault, John Greenwald, and get them to give us some information on this team from Lincoln Labs that developed this wallpaper. We can try to find some of these people and interview them before they die, because Purcell was certainly old, and most of these guys are probably in their 80s by now, and threat of coronavirus, which, by the way, coronavirus is just it only is killing people with a weak immune system. So if you have a strong immune system, stay in and keep clean, because it is a super contagious nasty disease, if it is real at all. Still, I can't trust anything on the media these days until and I really don't trust the medical profession and the whole industry as a whole, because it's just you don't know what's going on with what until you really see some hard evidence. So I'd like to see a more thorough. I'd like to see how this plays out. Basically, I just think that this pandemic's being engineered for a lot of corrupt reasons, and I don't like what's happened, the overreaction and everything else. But airline tickets are really cheap, so if journalists want to go maybe fly around the country and do some interviews, it's like a good time to do that. I was thinking of maybe we're thinking of maybe getting. I want to get the whole team together, because we're building like our own team with this Falcon Space program that I'm putting together, and I want to get like our team together now that the flights are cheap. I want to get like all the people that I've been talking to and get information from with the science and stuff to come together in one spot to work on some of the stuff, because that's basically the whole gimmick right now is that is we want disclosure and it's like and declassification, and I think the best way to do it is to try to develop this stuff ourselves and learn as much about it as we can, and the science and the technology of how this stuff works. If it is alien technology, or if it is our technology that's just been so heavily shrouded in secrecy and been suppressed and classified and kept from the American public, that and under the guy that it just seems like aliens, because there's just literally no trace for where it came from for a lot of history, which is interesting in itself. It just lends more mystery to the mystery. But anyways, yeah, I definitely am not convinced that it's aliens, and I play both sides of the fence, and I just stay on the side with the most evidence. You know what I mean? And I like to explore different theories and really keep them, in the back of my mind. But it's just I look for more evidence for this, and I think the metamaterials thing is certainly a question, and it just lends more. It's an area that needs to be more thoroughly researched by the UFO community and by the scientific community in general. Just trying to end history, because there's a lot of history that's missing. There's a lot of information in that history too, I believe, which may lead to the answers that we may or may not be looking for. Who knows? So I just encourage people to investigate this stuff, because it's 2020, and this should be the revelation year, and this is a year we're putting really big pieces of the puzzle together. But anyways, I'm gonna go over here to the live chat. I got a $20 live chat from somebody, and it's Super Nick MCD, and Nick, you're an MC, master of the ceremonies. You make this all happen, because we've been going for not 20 minutes now, and I've made $20 already, so $1 a minute. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good. That's pretty good pay so far. If I could keep that kind of pay up, I would keep doing this indefinitely. All the time. If I could, make that kind of money. So. So no noise now. My mic's good. The chopper sound's gone. I'm sorry, the volume's a little low, but at least you can just turn your volume up, I guess, and I'll try to speak clearly. So let me see. So there's the whole idea. Like, I just want to talk about all these ideas that are going around and bouncing around right now. And I don't want to say too much, because I do want to say a little bit, because you guys aren't the big audience. I only have 44 people watching this, and thanks to the shadow ban on YouTube and everything, I doubt this video will get more than 1,000 views or so. But hey, even though I got a very active chat, it seems, much more active than I expect for just 44 people, because I've had 100, 200 people in the chat and not seen this much activity going on. So I guess everyone was yelling at me about my mic and stuff, and to get my mic fixed. But in any case, we're on to the whole idea of whether or not that this technology that was developed, anti-gravity. All right, let's move on from metamaterials and technology in general, and let's talk specifically about anti-gravity, okay? And that's like a whole nother topic in and of itself, and I want to make say what I have to say about this. Sorry. So I've put together, I don't know, most few people know by now, I've been sharing this all over. I put together a whole list of all the research that I've done into anti-gravity, 15 years of my digging up, and it's on my Hover Brothers .com site /theory on the theory page on my Hover Brothers site. So if you go and look through this, it's basically all the government and military and aerospace, private aerospace research that's been done into anti-gravity and claims of anti-gravity and claims of gravity shielding and any experiments to do with gravitational anomalies that could lead to a better understanding of the physics behind gravity and what gravity is, how gravity works, how the dynamics of gravity affect objects, and inertia. The whole issue of what is inertia and why does inertial mass equal gravitational mass through the equivalence principle, and other questions in physics, which could lead us to a better understanding of how to create inertial drives and ways to beat inertia and what matter is it in itself and how it basically corresponds to other matter in the universe through quantum entanglement or other proven um, ideas in physics. But it's very interesting stuff going on. So, anyways, I wanted people to share this around, and we're trying to grow and add to that list. I got an interview coming up very shortly with Tim Ventura of American Anti-Gravity, and Tim Ventura is an American Anti-Gravity is like one of the sites that really got me psyched on this stuff back in the day, and his coverage of the Ning Li and Douglas Torr NASA experiments and the replications that NASA did of the Podkletnov research, that Russian spinning superconductor disk, and that research. So he's got some more wild and crazy characters. He just kind of branches out and covers a lot of everything. So, but and not as much of the same kind of stuff that I've been into recently. But is nonetheless he's into some interesting things, and I'm gonna interview him and bring him on because he's one of the guys that got me into this back in the day, and I want to talk about his kind of path through all this and where he's at right now and what he's seen, but and then I'm hoping to get more people on for interviews to kind of tell their stories, and I'd really like to go around and interview all the people that were involved in all this stuff, and just get a better documentation of the history from let these people tell their stories themselves, because it's really interesting what's going on right now. I really think it's disclosure, and it's time for declassification of a lot of this stuff, and it's like um, a lot of this information is going to be coming out very soon, and more of it comes out every month or so. It seems like there's a new dump, more and more stuff's coming out. Some other physicist is like, oh yeah, here's my life's work and blah blah blah, and that's been suppressed, and no, I don't know if that's happening, but these people don't really seek attention. They're just kind of like, yeah, well, there it is. I've been writing about it for 15 years and no one's been paying attention. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, everyone in the whole world's going to know. That's kind of how it is in a lot of scientific discovery. It's like you make this great discovery and you write all this stuff on it, and no one pays attention until 15, 20 years later after you're dead. But um it's still pretty cool and puzzling. I like putting all these pieces together, um, of these puzzles, and going back and forth on this, where you're really like, this is aliens, this is it, and like, I really want to believe, like that Fox Mulder of like, we're gonna find it, and then nope, it's just more government like lies and declassifying more stuff, and we learn more secrets about all this research that was done. And kept from us because for our own good and so it didn't get in the hands of other countries. Um, but yeah, oh, this is it. I want to get these books. There's a book right here. This is why I'm gonna order this one. Radar Man. He probably Edward Lovick. Let's look up this guy. Anyways, I'm gonna go do some more research into all this stuff and try to put my page together. I'm redoing my alienscientist.com, by the way. If you guys want to see the new one, you can go to alienscientist.com/new, and you can see what I've been working on and throwing my hard-earned money and time at. Not my hard-earned time, but my hard-earned money and my time at. Hopefully it will load a lot faster once it's ready. I'm gonna get 1 million people going here and hitting it. Probably loads slow as crap, but I'm gonna take this donate button off. I don't like PayPal anymore. I want to find a better way to do it through crypto, so it's not as I'm not a big fan of PayPal anymore. But yeah, I got to do a bunch of stuff. I'll work on this and put some new stories up and information on the main page, and a better list of experiments because we're done doing some of those other ones. Yeah, I'm gonna go do that right now, and I'm gonna end this stream and get some work done. But I just wanted to let people know that this metamaterial stuff is, and the quasicrystals, it's not as secretive, but find me any publication that talked about metamaterials. Like, how did Ed figure out a way that Ed Fouché knew about this that didn't come from, Hal put off or one of these classified programs or something, that's going on with all this research. So I think the more we learn about metamaterials and the history of metamaterials, and the more we put that like puzzle chain together, I think we're gonna find some shit. So if this really did come from like them studying pieces of like alien artifacts and stuff, like, Lou Elizondo and the Adams Project had us all like hyped up on and thinking when that like was coming out a year ago. The Adams Project and Lou Elizondo. Whatever happened with that? Now you can't find this Adams Project. Dude, where's the? He was running around with the case full of metamaterial. He had the alien artifacts, remember? He was running around with the case full of them and was talking about how you handle them and how you yeah, this thing, He's got the so they downgrades the debris from extraterrestrials, so they've downgraded it. It's no longer what's going on here? Alright, let's find this out. This week, To the Stars Academy of Arts and Scientists posted a new video teasing their investigation of debris that they used to claim had alien origins but are now much less sure about. Have you ever seen the Andromeda strain? And watching the old men of To the Stars Academy play with pieces of what they imply could be metal from flying saucers, I couldn't help wondering why the only precautions they took against the possibility of extraterrestrial contamination, radioactive, biological, etc., were a plastic freezer bag, some bubble wrap, and multicolored latex gloves. It just strikes me that if you genuinely thought you had a piece of a crashed flying saucer, you might want to be a little more curious that you would be packing a used book to ship to an eBay customer. Oh, come on, man. But seriously, the things probably were recovered from the desert, and they've been sitting in the desert if they were found in archaeological finds. So it's like, I guess. But they should be sending them to labs to be analyzed and really tell us what they are and do like all kinds of tests and stuff on them. Then they sold them to the army. And whatever happened with that, and whatever's going to happen with that, that's the big question with these guys. Is it all just a show? All just a big distraction? Who knows, man? But we're on to this. We're going to be replicating all these experiments, so we're going to find out if they did figure it out at some point back in history, when they did it, how they did it, and then we're going to show it and release it to the world if we do discover anything in our lab. All right, guys, there you have it.